Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show you a real quick trick on how to bore sight your rifle at home in like 10 yards in less than 5 minutes. Let's start with what you're going to need. Obviously you'd need your rifle, and you'd have your rifle, otherwise what the heck are you doing watching a video on how to zero a rifle? And secondly, you might want to, I'm not going to, but you might want to get like a measuring tape or a digital caliper or something like that, just to measure exactly what the distance is between the middle, the very middle of your bore to the very middle of your optic. I know that it's like 1.9 inches or just under, slightly just under 2 inches. So I'm not going to bother measuring that out, but you could definitely measure that out if you really want to get specific. But the whole point of bore sighting is to just be able to get us on paper when we take it out to shoot it at 100 yards or whatever you really want to zero your rifle in for. And that way you're going to save on a whole bunch of ammo trying to shoot at a target at 100 yards or 200 yards or whatever you want to zero it in for, and you're not even getting it on paper and you're not even seeing where your impacts are way out there. So that's why we're just going to bore sight it in at 10 yards here just at the house. Now the reason why we want to measure the distance between the middle of your bore to the middle of your sight is because at a short distance like 10 yards, the distance between the middle of your bore and the middle of your sight is the difference between what's going to be our point of aim on the scope and our point of impact or point of aim through the bore. So if it's 2 inches at 10 yards, what you're going to want to do is with the scope, you're going to aim 2 inches over what you're aiming at or what you're looking at through the bore. And the other thing you might want to use is a target like this. Now you don't really need to use a target like this. You could just draw on a piece of paper 2 different dots and have them 2 inches apart like this. But with a target like this, we know that each square is an inch. So if I'm aiming, for example, up here with the scope, I should be looking through the bore, and the bore should be looking directly in the middle of this. And that's a 2-inch difference right there. I'm going to set this target up now across the room at 10 yards over there, and I'll set up my rifle and the Tacticam on this side of the room, and I'll show you guys exactly what I'm looking at. I'll just set her up right there. Now it's not exactly 10 yards, it's 9.4 yards, but we're close enough. Like I said, the goal of bore sighting it like this is to just be able to get us on paper when we actually take it out to the range. And that way we're not wasting ammo trying to get it on paper at the range. We want to be able to get it on paper right away on the first shot and then make our micro adjustments from there. And that way we're as efficient as we can be with our use of ammo. And with the ammo prices these days, we want to save on as much ammo as we can. Now just in case this is your first rifle and you've never zeroed the rifle in before, and this just happens to be the very first video you're watching on how to do it, you're going to want to remove your bolt. That way you can actually look down the barrel of your rifle from the back here. Otherwise, with the bolt in there, you won't be able to see through it. Okay, now with the bolt removed, you can actually look down the barrel of your rifle. So what we're going to do is we're going to aim down the barrel of the rifle here, and we're going to aim it directly right in the center of the middle bullseye. That's going to be our point of aim through the bore, right in the middle of that center bullseye. And with the scope, we're going to aim it 2 inches above that center bullseye. And again, that's because the height of the scope is 2 inches over the height of the bore. Alright, so I got the Tacticam set up here now. Alright, so you guys should be able to see that right now on the Tacticam. I put on the illuminated reticle. I guess it is useful after all. But, okay, so once again, down the bore, we're aiming directly at the middle bullseye. That is the middle bullseye right there. That's where we're aiming at the bore. Okay, so, well, I just moved it now, so we're gonna have to reposition it again here. Okay, there we go. So as you can see though, the reticle on the scope, we're sitting at about 2.5 inches high and maybe about 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch to the right on the reticle. What we want to do is we'll move that down 1/2 an inch like this and 1/2 an inch left, so that's sitting at that 2-inch mark above the middle bullseye like that. Okay, now I just moved it there just to show you guys, but what I'm actually going to do is we're going to make the adjustments now on the scope turrets, and let's show you guys how to do that. Alright, so here is our scope turrets. This is for the elevation on the top, and your windage for us to move it to the left is the one on the side right here. So we're going to need a flathead screwdriver to make the adjustments on the turrets over here. So we're now going to adjust the turrets. We'll start with the elevation, and what we're going to want to do is we're going to dial it down 1/2 an inch. And I'm going to turn the Tacticam on there again now so you guys can see it live on how it adjusts. By the way, to dial it so that the reticle goes down, what you're going to want to do is turn the turret to the up position. So up saying go this way, and down goes this way. So what we're going to do is turn it to the up position, and that will move the reticle down. By the way, on your scope turret, it'll say 1 click equals 1/4 of an inch at 100 yards. So that means at 100 yards, 1 click means it moves down 1/4 of an inch. Well, we want to move it 1/2 an inch, right? But the other thing is we're at 10 yards, not 100 yards. So what you're going to do is you're going to times that by 10. Now if you were at 25 yards, you're going to times it by 4. Do you get what I'm saying? Basically, to move it 1/2 an inch at 100 yards, it's going to take us 2 clicks. But we're at 10 yards, so times that by 10, and it should take us 20 clicks to move it that 1/2 an inch. Now, I wasn't counting the clicks because I'm watching it live on the reticle here with the Tacticam. Or you guys can sit and watch it live as well as you look through your scope. But there we are. I think that was roughly about 20 clicks, and we're now sitting at that 2-inch mark. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move the windage to the left, and I think we're moving that, what, 1/2 an inch, I think? Yeah, 1/2 an inch to 3/4 of an inch. And same thing with the windage turret here as well. To move it to the left, you're going to want to turn the turret to where it says to the right. And same deal, it's a quarter of an inch per click at 100 yards. So same math applies here with the windage as well. But as you guys can see on the scope cam there, we are now pretty much, maybe a couple more clicks. There we go. We are now pretty much lined up in the center and 2 inches above that middle bullseye target. Alright, now once we're done that, we're just going to put the turret caps back on. And we are done. And that is how you bore sight a rifle at home at 10 yards real quick. Now here's the thing. When you bore sight it at 10 yards like this at home, when you go to shoot it at about 100 yards, you're going to be on paper, but you're probably going to be about an inch or so off of your point of aim. And that's okay, because like I said, the whole goal is to just get you on paper. Now speaking of that, like I said, you don't need the target. Grab a piece of paper, draw 2 dots on it 2 inches apart, or whatever the distance of your sight over your bore is. Now they also make like laser bore sighters and stuff like that as well too. Honestly, do you need it? Probably not. I mean, like if you're doing it at 10 yards like this, it's not hard to look through your bore like this and be able to point it at the center of a target 10 yards away. Like it's super easy to see 10 yards and to line up your bore to it. You don't really need a laser bore sighter. Could you use one? Sure, maybe it's nice. It's not like that. It's not like they're that expensive. It's just, you know, do you really need it or not? I would say you probably don't even need one. The only time I probably ever use a laser bore sighter is if I was bore sighting like a semi-automatic rifle and not a bolt action rifle, because a bolt action rifle, it's very easy. It's quick to take out that bolt and be able to see down the barrel. But with a semi-auto, depending on what type of firearm it is, you're gonna have to take it apart and take the whole bolt assembly apart before you can look down the barrel. So if you don't want to go through all that on a semi-auto, then I would probably use a laser bore sighter, because I wouldn't want to go through the pain in the ass of taking the rifle apart if I was too lazy. The other thing you might want to keep in mind as well is parallax. For example, the scope that I'm using right now does not have a parallax adjustment. So when I'm looking through the scope right now, it's moving around. The reticle is moving around as I'm moving my head around. There's no parallax. The parallax is off at 10 yards. The parallax for this scope, definitely not built for 10 yards. So that's why it is jumping, the reticle is jumping around. Luckily, when I was viewing it through my Tacticam, that stayed still. So I just went off of what I saw on the Tacticam and not off of what I saw on here. But if you guys have a scope, if it's a cheaper one like this scope is, and it doesn't have a parallax adjustment, keep that in mind also. But I would suggest you just buy a better scope with a parallax adjustment. That way it saves you all the trouble. Anyways, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. I hope you found this helpful and that it saves you some ammo at the range when you're trying to sight your rifle in. If you guys found this video helpful, please do drop a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you thought of the video. And check out my other videos as well on my channel. I do hunting, fishing, shooting, all kinds of outdoor stuff. So if you like that kind of content, hit that subscribe button also and stay tuned for more content like this.